The Lenovo Chromebook 3, also known as the IdeaPad 3, 11.6-inch edition. Link will be in the description. I encourage you to use the link not only because it helps the channel, but also can eliminate any confusion. When I went into Best Buy to buy mine, there were multiple different model numbers and versions with slightly different specs, but this is the one you're going to want. I paid $139 for mine, and I was perfectly happy with that. I was absolutely going to recommend it for $139, but Black Friday sales are live. $79.99. Absolutely incredible what you could get for $80. We're going to have story time with Uncle Steve a little bit later in the video, so stay tuned for that. Right now, I want to go over the outside of it. We'll talk about the screen, all the specs on it, but keep in mind the ports that you get for $2,000 laptops in 2022. And here is what you get for $80. Let's start on the left side of the device. Headphone jack, micro SD card expansion, USB 3.0, which I have filled here, but we'll talk about the little Logitech thing in a moment. USB-C, which is used for charging, but also for another peripheral if you need it on there. That's on the left side of the device. We're going to kick this around to now the right side, another USB 3.0 port, and another USB-C that can also be used for charging on this side. So if your outlet, if you're on a plane, if you're on a train, library, something like that, your outlet is on the other side. You don't have to pull the cord all the way around the device. You could charge it from either side. And then the Kensington lock port slot here on the side. Nice rubber feet do the job on the bottom, and you have your two stereo speakers on the bottom as well. Note the angle on them. I like that. It's kind of slanted where it doesn't muffle the sound completely. It kind of fires against whatever surface that you're on and amplifies it quite nicely without distorting it completely. We'll talk about the speakers as well in a moment. So, like I said, $79.99, 11.6-inch, 720p display, 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of internal storage, but you also get that expandability. I'm going to change the camera angle here. We're going to continue with the inside of the device right now. Here we have the Lenovo Chromebook 3 opened up. You can see the display, 11.6-inch, 720p display. And don't be turned off by the 720p, because unlike those larger displays where we did Chromebooks with 15.6-inch displays, the 11.6 actually looks quite a bit better at 720p, right? Less area that those pixels have to cover, more condensed. It looks quite nice. Is it the greatest display in the world? No. It still has problems with color that the other Chromebooks have, or at least the lower-end budget Chromebooks have. Color accuracy, not great. So if you're an artist or you rely on that, this is not going to be for you. Also, the viewing angles. You don't have to be quite within a degree of center. You get a little bit more than some of those larger display devices. I still keep it within 3 or 4 degrees of center, and you have to kind of angle it just right to get the best color on it. But once you do that, the sharpness, despite it being 720p, is actually quite nice, and it's pleasant to use. Let's talk about the build, because I find this with these smaller Chromebooks as well. I guess because for the same amount of money, you have less real estate that you have to cover with the structure of the device. So even though it's still cheap, it's $80 on par with those other cheaper, larger displayed Chromebooks, there's less area and less trouble getting the structure a little bit more solid. So there's less keyboard flex. It's quite nice. In fact, I don't even feel hardly any keyboard flex on this, which is great because it's easier to get a solid structure here on the smaller Chromebook using roughly the same amount of plastic. So the typing experience and the keyboard is quite nice. It's not backlit, but it's still pretty good. You see the Chromebook layout here, nice and clean. You got your brightness, sound, all the rest of it. We talked about those speakers slightly. They're not bad. They don't distort until you get to the very high end. Not the loudest things in the world, but you're not going to be disappointed with them either. And if you really are, you got that headphone jack on the side that you could go ahead and plug in. Trackpad, I wouldn't use it. And that's why you see the Logitech on the side. You could plug in your favorite wireless mouse, or you could go ahead and get your Bluetooth mouse, whatever it happens to be. You plug that in, you're working right away. Works seamlessly. I would highly recommend that. In a pinch, you could use it. It's not the worst thing in the world, but if you're doing something that requires some degree of accuracy, it's not one that you'd want to be using. Performance is great. You have to temper your expectations to what you're getting and what you're paying. And if you do that, especially for $80, you're going to get a heck of a lot of utility and value out of this Chromebook 3. Web browsing, that's fine. Twitch, Netflix, YouTube, you're writing reports, any sort of documents that you have to do, spreadsheets, PowerPoint, email. It's going to handle all of it. It's going to handle all of it well with a breeze. It can have several tabs open at once without slowing down. We were away for the weekend. I took this as my only laptop. This is the only computing device that I took. I was able to do work on it. I was able to log into every work site, do everything I need to do. I was able to go on canva.com, change out a thumbnail for another video, swap it around, install it on the video that I needed on. Zero issues, not a lot of lag, not a lot of slowdown. Understand what this can do and be in that mindset, and you'll be fine. I get a lot of these comments on these Chromebooks. I was like, oh, it doesn't run Witcher 3 at 144 hertz. Yeah, because you're an idiot. It's not supposed to do that. They have gotten a little bit better with gaming. They've tried to promote Chromebook gaming. Very light gaming you could do on something like this, and you'll be fine. It does have an Intel Celeron, I believe 4020 in here, if I'm not mistaken, and that can do very light things. If you keep it to what it can do and understand and temper your expectations going in, it will do everything that you need it to do. If you go in and try to throw a ton at it right away, it's not going to be able to do it, and you're going to be disappointed. But I think overall, the whole package is something that's very enticing. 10 hours of battery life is what they claim. If you're doing stuff like this, web browsing, email, light video watching, that'll be fine. If you're doing heavy video, Netflix, Twitch, YouTube all day, I got about 5.5 hours of screen on time before it gave out and I needed to plug it in for a charge. Charges up relatively quickly. It's about an hour and a half. That USB-C charging really works and works well. And overall solid. The screen hinge is nice. No really unnecessary flex there. It's got a little bit, but not a terrible amount. And again, I think I lend that to it being smaller, 11.6 inches. It's able to have a better structure a little bit more easily, I believe, when they're making these. Great value overall. And when you think, who should be buying this? I think this goes back to the same thing. If there's a first laptop for somebody, if this is a high school laptop, if you need something where you already have, let's say you're in an art program or something like that, where you have to have that high-end desktop. You have that expensive Mac at home, and you had to choose between getting an expensive desktop Mac and an expensive laptop. Well, you get the desktop, you get the expensive desktop, you got the gaming desktop in your dorm, and you get something like this to bring to class with you. It's fantastic. It'll take notes. It'll do the schoolwork. It'll do all the web-based stuff that you have to do for these classes without any issue whatsoever. You don't worry about carrying it around. It's nice. It's light. That 11.6 inches is fantastic in a messenger bag, in a book bag. You throw it in there whether you need it or not. It's one of those things you just take with you. You don't know if you're going to need it for that particular class. You don't know if you're going to the library, whatever it is. Just throw it in there. For work, it's fantastic as well. Let's talk about the webcam. Webcam is great. Really didn't expect that. Another quality webcam on these for those meetings, remote work, whatever it happens to be. This is something that if you understand the uses for it, you're absolutely good to get your money's worth for that $80. So a lot of work that could be done on this. If it's something for just light work that you're doing in an office, you need something like this. But again, if you don't want to have to worry about taking your expensive laptop out, or perhaps you have that expensive desktop at home, this is the perfect companion device to that, because you don't have to worry about it as much as you would one of those more expensive laptops. Now it's story time with Uncle Steve. You know, when you think of $80, $79, it wasn't that long ago. I guess it was at this point, 20-something years ago, where the low-end laptop was $2,700, $2,800. And that was the base of the base, the Pentium whatever, and you were getting 32 megs of RAM if you were lucky, 16 on all those machines. That was the low end. And the high end was those $5,500, $6,000 machines. And there was one machine that was similar to this that you got back in the day. I think Brother made it. I forget what the name of it, but it was a Brother Power Note or something like that. It's like $650, $700. It had a non-backlit LCD. When I mean LCD, I mean the old school LCD black and white, and not the green kind of overlay with contrast. 3.5-inch floppy drives on the side of it. Big lithium-ion power pack thing that you had to put in there. It had a dial-up modem for certain things, but that's what you got. That was the equivalent for $700. Now for $80, you could get something that you could absolutely navigate the internet with. It's fantastic. It's instant on, solid-state storage. Just an overall, it's just amazing when you think about what you could get for the money. Again, link in the description. Lenovo Chromebook 3. Absolutely recommend. It gets the job done. If you temper your expectations, not going to be the best display in the world, not the best trackpad in the world, not the most powerful machine in the world, but if you understand what it's able to do, you're going to be plenty happy with it. If you made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.